Welcome to this HelloID release webinar. In this webinar we're going to discuss the new features available from the March release that we released last Monday. So we're not going into depth to the existing features but just only the new features to keep this webinar short. Normally I will do this live, but this is a recorded message, so if you have any questions you can still ask them in the chat, of course. But I won't answer them directly in this live video, but I will try to answer them during communication in text. So I would like to say, so let's go to the new features. So we have a couple of new features. So I'm starting with the features in service automation. And if we go to service automation and to service desk, I can click on it. I can open, let's say, the AD account manage group memberships form. And now you will see the first new feature. It's a small one, but it's pretty critical if you want to have a connection with different systems, or if you want to link to a form like this. So in this release now you have an URL which directly connects you to this form. So if you open a form, you can copy paste the URL and just copy in it a new window, and then the form will magically open. So if I go to this and I put it in here, the form will automatically open, so you're not on the overview page each time you link to a different form. So that's new. We already had that in the products, of course. Now we also have this in the delegated forms. So it's a really nice feature, I think. The other thing is, so let's search for me or somebody with almost my name, and we can go to Patrick Buff as an example and click on next. And you will see here some details, some memberships he already has, and also the memberships that is available for him. And in the previous versions you can just add those with these aligned, so I can click on those, click again, go back, and things like that. But now you can just use this functionality by just simply double clicking. So if I double click on it, the item will add, and if I double click again, it will disappear. So that's more easy for people to add inside the dual list, add items and send them back and forth between the left and the right column. So that's a lot easier than we currently had with clicking on it, going to the line and just put it inside the right area. Another thing which is new, and I can easily show it by clicking outside the model. If I have made any changes and I click outside the model, you will get a pop-up which asks you, do you really want to close this model? If you click on do not close, you will be back again with, of course, the same details that you already submitted in the form. And it is also the case when you press escape in the form like this. I can so do not close, or I click on the close button, of course, it's the same. So do not close in this way, because I still have some changes I want to do. So we just want to be sure that you don't accidentally click outside the model and leave the page, and all your hard work will be gone. Of course, if I click outside it and I say close anyway, it will be closed. This doesn't work only on the delegated forms like here, but it also works on the products and on the management. So manage products and manage users. If you request a product, it's also a model. And there it also works the same way. So if you click outside it, it will ask you for permissions to close it. So it's an extra step, but it's just to be sure that you don't lose any work that you are currently working on just by clicking outside the box a little bit. So I think it's a nice feature to have to improve the user interface with the other three features. So I think those are the features for service automation, really nice improvements. We also have some new functionality, new features for provisioning. So we'll go to that. Let's go to provisioning. And if you see here, we got some new audit logging. And I think everybody is familiar, but we have for the source system, we have of course all these thresholds that you can enable. And also we have some thresholds for the target systems where you can say, okay, let's say the removal. So if a person is removed from my source system, HR generated in this case, if a person is removed, I want to block the import, and you have to approve it. So that there is a manual step there. Now we register who approved the threshold, or approved the block if threshold is hit. So now we have also reports on that. So we can go to the reports, and we can go to provisioning. And here you have a user action approved threshold report. Let's open it for a while. And here you can already see that in the last 7 days, I hit a threshold. So March 10, an administrator hit a threshold or approved the threshold for the PowerShell target system. And I can also say, let's go for a little bit nicer overview and more settings. I set the last 2 weeks, so I can extend the period, of course. And I can see here, okay, I got a lot of approvals on March 1 and March 10. I can see here if it's the target systems or the source systems that are more hit by thresholds. And of course, which system. And I can also click on the source and you will see which of the source systems are more hit, or let's see in the target systems, which one is more hit. And of course, who approved my threshold. So in this case, it's always the administrator account. I think we're almost always logging in with the administrator account. Not the best practice, of course, so please do it differently in a production environment. But for this demo environment, it's fine. Also, you see the reason why it was or what was hit by the threshold. So here you can see as an example, one account is blocked for an account access. So enable, or this in this case, a disable action is blocked. Here a account deletion is blocked. You can see here the 9 invalid persons. So that means that you can set a require button on a single person field, and if the field is empty, it says, okay, I'm blocking the person. But if you have too many persons, I will block the whole import. In this case, it blocked the whole import. Of course, also when adding persons or removing persons, and all the thresholds you can hit, we will now make audit logging available for that. And you can always see if the action is approved by who, which is really important, I think. So if you have a big issue, please look at the reports. If any business rules are changed, or thresholds are approved, or things like that, which helps you identify which causes the issue, or why certain actions were running. Okay. So the last new feature for provisioning. So let's go back to the admin portal and let's go to provisioning. So the last new feature, I have to set up a little bit. So I want to explain why I want to do this. And before I'm going to show it, it's really important to know that this is a beta functionality. So please do not use this in production. And of course, if you didn't requested it and it was approved, you don't see this functionality. So please beware that it could be that I'm showing something you cannot see in your portal, but that's because you didn't have access to it. But you can request that in your local support team. So if you want to, please contact us, and we can arrange that it is enabled on your portal, and you can just check it out, how it works, what it does. But it is really important to know that what I'm going to show is it's beta functionality. It could break, so don't use this in production systems. So first off, I need to create a new target system. And the target system should be of the new PowerShell target system, which here you can see marked with beta. This is really important because else we cannot do this new functionality. But this is added in the previous release also as beta. So it's building upon each other. The thing I'm going to show is conditional notifications, how you can set this up. Now I have a new tab here, which we explained in the previous webinar, with fields. And with these fields, I'm mapping my way between a person and an account. And what we have here is also, you can send those fields that you put on an account to a notification system and use this in notifications. If you go to Active Directory, you could use the SAM account name or the username in Azure to be sent with a notification. And you can configure that in here. So as an example here, you have the username I just mentioned, and you can see here it's used in the notifications for the actions create, enable, update, disable, and delete. I can change this, of course. So let's say go to the username, and I can disable it, or I can say enabled for all the actions, or maybe in some cases I want to say, okay, I don't want to send the notification or use it in a notification on the update, enable, and disable. So I want to add this as new mapping, and I say username. So I only want to use it in a notification on create and delete. In this case, it is stored this way, and if I'm closing this, and it will be automatically saved, of course. If you go to username, you will see that it's only applicable for the create and delete. So if I enable the option here, use in notification, you will see the icon that I can use this in a notification. And it's really important. So I also enabled the department on the create and update. What we can do with this, and where the really new feature lies, is if we go to business and we go to a new page, which you call custom events. You can click on this, and we can create a new custom event. And here you can say trigger only when a username has value, as an example. I can choose my new system I just created. I didn't rename it, so it's just a normal PowerShell name. And I can say my action here. So in this case, it's account create. And now I can do a condition. So I can add a condition in which should be evaluated true. In that case, it triggers this custom event, and I can use this custom event in the notifications. I will show that a little bit later. So here I say, okay, this field, I just define it as username. It should have a value. So in this case, if the username has a value, the account create will trigger. This custom event will trigger. I can use this with multiple fields. So if I'm adding it again and I'm saying, okay, not only username, but also the department should have a value. And of course, I can add another one, and I can say, okay, the title has a value. Then you have to remember that these are all ends. So, and the username should have a value, and the department should have a value, and the title should have a value. If one of those doesn't have a value, this event is not triggered. So in this case, you can say, okay, I want to send a notification based on the data that you're sending back from your account mapping. And that's really powerful because I also can define which template or which notification I want to send. So in this case, I will show different cases with this, but in this case it's username, department, and title. Now, of course, I can also change, okay, I don't, if the title has no value and the other ones have a value, then I want to trigger this, but in this case I just want to have, if those three fields have a value, trigger this. Then I can go to my notifications, and I can add a new notification here. And with the new notification, I can also select, of course, the previous built-in events like account create, account enable, account update, but also my new trigger, my new custom event. So if I click this, I'll automatically get the system that I connected with my custom event. So it only triggers on that system. And this means that if there is an account create and those 3 fields are have a value, then this notification will be sent. And I can still use the dynamic variables that I'm used to in my notification. So I can still use things like account email or something like that, and depending on my mapping. That's really important. So as an example, I will have the username. I know that one is available in my mapping. I don't think the email isn't available, but I can use also my person object, of course, and things like that, just like normally I could use. And also the fallbacks are still working, so I can use the double pipeline and say, okay, if that doesn't work, I want to send with no reply at HelloID.com, something like that. Of course, I still have to give my template a name, so I said trigger only send email when username has value. And of course this is not correct because it's not only username, it's department and also title. And the same appears with the message. I can just put the message in like normally with my email and use the variables here. So let's save this, and let's go a little bit back again to my target system, just to be sure that everything is clear, and how we can use this also in a different way. So what I did here was use the username, title, and department, which are all available in the create actions, and I use those to send a message if they have a value. But I can do other stuff here, which are really nice, because I can use this mapping not only for fields that I put in an account, but also I can define here fields that I only want to use in my notification. So let's say I want to add a field. And I want to say, okay, this is phone number. And here I say, okay, phone number is only available on the enable field. I'm just saying something. And I say I don't want any mapping because I don't want to use the phone number inside my account. I just want to use this field for, let's do it nicely. I only want to use this field to use in my notification. Sorry for that. So I prepared it now. So it's only on the enable action available. So let's go back. Now you should see a new field available here, phone number. It's used in the action. Oh, sorry, I forgot something. It's used in the action enable, but I forgot to enable the user notification option. So let's do it like this. Now what I could do is normally I have some PowerShell script that fills up my account variables. So in this I have the enable action like I just mentioned, and I'm doing here something to create on Active Directory, Azure AD, things like that. But what I could do here also is depend on some custom logic in PowerShell if the phone number has a field yes or no. So if I generate a phone number for everybody starting with a D or something like that as the last name, or other things. And what I can do here is I want to use two different notifications. one is if it has a phone number, I want to use the phone number inside the notification. And of course, I also want to create a template without the phone number. So I can do this. So I can go to custom events, and I can say here custom events trigger when only when phone number has a value. So let's choose the system. It's PowerShell. Don't forget to change the action, of course, because it was only an enable available. If you select the action and you go to the conditions, you will see that the phone number field isn't available. So you have to select the correct action, and then you will see that only the phone number and external ID are available. So let's say the phone number has a value. So now I've created my custom event, but I also want to say I want to create an extra event, and I want to say trigger only when phone number has no value. So again, the same system, the same action, and here the field phone number, but in this case I do invert condition, has no value. So I've created two triggers, one when the phone number has a value, and the second one if the phone number hasn't a value, has no value. Then I can go to my notification, and I can create a new notification, and I send email with phone number. No, let's do this correctly. I can choose my event. I can say trigger only when phone number has value, and I can do something like this. Reply HelloID.com. The two is, let's send it to the same one. Subject account has phone number. Again, nicely. And in my message, I can add a variable account dot phone number. So you will see the phone number. Of course, this message doesn't really make sense, but you have to put in a nice message and put in the phone number. And I can also create a second notification when there isn't a phone number. So let's do this again. So send mail when phone number has no value or is empty, has no value. PowerShell system still is from no reply at HelloID.com. Let's do the same for the two, and we don't have a phone number, so account has no phone number. And of course I cannot enter, or I can change the message and say okay, account has no phone number. And this is really powerful because I can make changes between or send two different notifications based on a single action based on information which we use in the account. And we can use a little bit of PowerShell to determine if some field has a value. And also in the upcoming releases, we will support multiple different conditions, because now we only have the condition for has and don't have a value. But in the next release, we're going to have a check where you can do an equals or contains. So you can say the department is equal to sales or something like that. And another condition that we will have is the if a field is updated. So if the department has changed, or if a phone number has changed. As an example, I want to send an email, else I don't want to send an email. So it's a really powerful mechanism this way, and you can really determine when you want to send a notification and when you don't want to send a notification, based on simple conditions. Those are all the new features available in this release. So remember the last one that I showed with the conditional notifications, it's still in beta functionality, so you don't see it as a default in production. If you want to see it and test it, you can request at your local support team. If you have it, please don't use it in production systems, but please test with it. Give us your feedback so we can maybe change it before we go to into production, because if we are in production, it's really difficult to change the code sometimes, because we have to be backwards compatible and those kind of stuff. So it's easier to have this feedback up front where we can make changes a little bit faster and more easily. Then I would like to thank you for your attention. Sorry that this webinar wasn't live, but hopefully it was still valuable for you guys. And please don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you will not miss a webinar or the next webinar or a product release video and all other documentation videos we are currently creating. If you have any feedback about the webinar or you want more information about stuff, please contact us. You can also put it in the YouTube chat, of course, or we have forums also on the feedback portal. You can put your feedback in if you want to. If you want to know which features are coming, you can go to roadmap.helloid.com, and there you have some planned items and the bigger ones on the milestone. They're not really planned, but you don't see a date there, but you know the ordering. All those information we have on different websites. And of course, we have the documentation on docs.helloid.com. So thank you for watching, and till the next time.